What's up, everyone? So, taking your relationship with your spouse, making it 100 times better than it was when you first got together. And they always talk about the honeymoon stage, the easy stage, where everything's sunshine and rainbows. And after that stage, it's all downhill from there. And then, of course, we all know that 7 year itch. Well, I'm here to tell you, you can create the relationship that you want with your spouse. And not only will that help your relationship with your spouse, that will help your relationship with others. You see, it's a practice thing, just like anything else. So I've been married for 12 years myself. And I take knowledge not only from myself, but from what I read and from seeing other people's relationships. You know, it's always easy to talk about what to do, especially if you've never been there. But there's nothing better than good old-fashioned understanding and knowledge behind it, having a basis behind it. And so the difference between the ones who make it work and the ones who don't, it's a simple thing called perception. But it's not just the perception, it's the practice of that perception. And I remember listening to a wise old man once tell me, I've only met this guy once, by the way, but he told me, see, there's two ways you can go about your relationship. When it gets wet and rainy, you can complain about it or you can dance in the rain. You get the option. And so what I want to tell those who are looking to really improve, and not only improve, because I made a big hefty title 100 times. How do you 100 times your relationship? How do you do that, Clifford Starks? You tell me. It's not possible. Well, it starts with small chunks, right? And not only small chunks, it's what you focus on. See, for some strange reason, people take relationships and they make them this external thing. This person needs to do this for me. This person needs to do that for me. It starts with yourself. It starts with being comfortable in here. It starts with being empowered in here. Inspired in here. It's you. It all starts with that. The things you say to yourself. The person you believe that you are. The capabilities that you believe that you have. And this is where it gets really magical. When you empower yourself correctly, when you see the world the way that you need to see the world, you'll start seeing opportunities everywhere. All of a sudden they pop up all over the place. Oh, I never saw that. Oh, I never knew that. Oh, that's an interesting way of looking at things. I remember I had a conversation with a good friend of mine, and he was going through some tough times in his relationship. He's like, I have to stay with her for the kids. I have to be a man and do the things that I need to do for my children's sake. And I told him, I go, man, you're looking at it in a really, really putting a lot of friction on yourself with what you're doing, with how you're speaking, how you're talking about the situation, even your body language. And I'm glad he opened up right away, because the things I told him was, here's the thing. You once loved that person without anything else. There were no strings attached. You loved them. You truly, genuinely loved them. And not only that, she's the wife of your kids. The wife of your kids. She bared your children. And so just flipping it that way, instead of saying, I have to stay with this person. I'm forced to do it. should be something you could be proud of, wouldn't you think? Be proud to be a part of a woman who actually bared your children. Be proud to be the husband and the father of a family. Because just that alone, see, it empowers you. But not only that, it empowers everyone around you. And again, I'm not going to say this is an easy process. In fact, some people might be getting mad at me as I talk about this, saying it's the things that you do. See, you can only control you. You can't control what everybody else does. But one thing I do know is people like being around people that make them feel good. And if you're feeling good, it helps you help other people feel good. That's where the power's at. So the more you feel good, the more you feel alive, the more empowered you feel, the more you're going to want to spread that. So there's an interesting message in here, right? This is what it comes down to. Why does Clifford Starks always smile? Why? Even during the tough times. See, this is me pretty much all the time. Even when I'm nervous, even when I'm fearful, even when I'm whatever. Because I know there's always an opportunity somewhere. I'm that person. It didn't come overnight. It came with practice. But how do you 100x it? Cliff, get to the point. How do you 100 times your relationship? Well, here it is. If you get 1% better every day, in 365 days, you will have been 37 times better. So, it takes less than 3 years of getting 1% better every day to 100x anything that you want. So focus in on your spouse and focus in on your relationship and watch how it blossoms and grows when you do it. And it doesn't have to be an overnight thing. It's not supposed to be. But you know, if you can get 1% better, just 1%, day in and day out, what little things can you do? Can you say, I love you a little bit more? Can you say it with a little more affection? Can you give them a little bit of a longer hug, maybe a second longer? Can you show them that you care in the ways that you know they love to see? Because that's another thing. See, spouses are different from one another. It's kind of cool. You get to see your both sides' strengths and both sides' weaknesses. And so if you look in on a person's weaknesses and focus in on those weaknesses start getting really big really fast. And the funny thing is, they start showing those weaknesses a lot more. And the truth of the matter is, you help create it because it starts with a thought. If you think it long enough, you start creating the reality without even realizing it. But if you focus in on that person's strengths, watch them grow, watch them expand, watch them show that, yeah, those are my strengths. That's where I'm strong. So I know this was supposed to be specifically on relationships, but I'm going to go a little bit on a tangent here because this is pretty cool to me. So, as some of you know, I fought on the big stage. I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a husband. So how do you tie those three in together? Well, this is what's really cool. So a fighter goes out there, right, by themselves, but they're not by themselves. They have their coach, their teammates, their friends, their family, their fans. They have all of that, right? And they got to work with some of these people, specifically the coaches, specifically their teammates. They have to work together. They have to strengthen one another. And as an entrepreneur, you have to network and you have to understand people. You have to understand people's strengths and people's weaknesses and work around those. In a relationship, you're doing the exact same thing. You're finding a way to work with one another's strengths instead of one another's weaknesses. It's one of those things I get to see very often, actually, because I ask a lot of questions. You see, I don't just take my knowledge as the gospel. I read a lot. I observe a lot. I ask a lot of questions on people who have been together for long periods of time, people who can't stay together, and people who are just getting started. Because as the coach, I always have to keep growing. Always got to improve my game. Always got to get a little bit better myself. So you see how it all circles back around. When I get 1% better every day, it makes everything that I do just a little bit better in my life. That's why I'm able to handle the things that I'm able to handle. Sometimes I don't even realize that I'm doing it. And I'm like, well, you're doing this, A, B, C, D, E, F. I'm like, I didn't even think about that. Because I take things in small incremental bites. I don't try and just say, I'm going to be the best at this and I'm just going to do it today. And sometimes people are waiting for that. All right, give me the secret. What is the secret? The secret's consistency. Day in and day out. No matter what you do. But the cool thing is you can also add your consistency in other areas. Just like I've had my discipline in one area and I just use my discipline in different areas, right? So whatever I do, it helps me in all areas of my life. Me having a relationship with my spouse that's actually gone really, really good for the 12 years we've been together and keeps getting better. And the cool thing is she actually still listens to me most of the time. There still is that time she doesn't listen so much. But she does a pretty good job of listening to me, and sometimes I happen to be wrong. But the truth of the matter is, for 12 years, that's impressive because people say they stop listening after a year or two. And that's the thing. It comes down to how are you going to choose to see it? What are you going to do in this process? Are you going to empower the person that you're with? Or are you going to break them down? You're going to make them feel like crap. Are you going to empower them a little bit more every day? And in reality, just empowering yourself too? Or are you just going to say, no, it's all her, or it's all him, and just be done with it? It's up to you.